when we use the exact words of the speaker, it is said to be direct speech. Remember, when it is simple present or simple future and you are changing direct speech to indirect speech, there will be no change in the verb. What we add is only that. If it is the reporting verb is in the past tense, a past tense in the direct speech may be turned into past perfect. Hello everyone, this is Shobita S. Aradhya, lecturer, Department of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, MYSURU, the Temple of Excellence. A warm welcome to you all for today's session. Today, I am going to teach you direct and indirect speech. What are these? We have two kinds of speech in English. One is direct and the other one is indirect. So, the dialogue said by one person, if it is reported as same, without any change, it is called as direct, and if it is said as the other person's words, then it is called as indirect. I think you did not understand this. I know, but you'll learn now how to use the direct and indirect speech. So, today we'll see the speech, that is two types of speech, direct and indirect speech. Before going further, first let us be clear with what is direct speech and what is indirect speech. So here, when we use the exact words of the speaker, it is said to be direct speech. So if you say, my mother told, go wash your hand. So go wash your hand is the dialogue said by your mother. If you are using the same, then it is called as the direct speech. If you are using it in your own words, my mother told me to wash my hands. So you are changing it to third person, right? So at that time it is called as indirect speech. See here, when we report what is being said without quoting the exact words of the speaker, the sentence is said to be indirect speech. The meaning will be same, but some words they change, so that it will be the direct speech or the indirect speech. So this is what you have to understand first, what is direct speech and what is indirect speech. Next, we will see one example here. The boy told his teacher, I am tired. So what did the boy tell his teacher? I am tired. This is in single inverted comma, correct? And this dialogue by the speaker is separated after a comma, correct? So, I am tired. Let us see the other sentence. The boy told his teacher that he was tired. Okay. Here, the speaker is telling what the boy said. Exact words of the boy is repeated here. In the second sentence, the boy told his teacher that he was tired. Okay, there is change, correct? There is no inverted comma that has come here, and what is in present tense has become past tense here, correct? So there are some changes in these two sentences. The first one is the direct speech and the second one is indirect speech. Okay, so let us see what are the changes brought over between these two sentences. The first part including the reporting verb told. Okay, so the first part has the word told, correct, has remained unchanged. There is no change. In both the places it is told itself. There is no change in the verb, correct. Next, the pronoun I, here it is I, has changed to he. So I is first person, you is second person, he, she, it, they are third person, correct. So I from first person, it has changed to he, third person, correct. Then the verb am, which is present tense, has changed to was, that is past tense, correct. See here, am is there, no, it is present tense. In the indirect speech, it has changed to was, correct. It has become past tense in the indirect speech. The word that has been added, which is the addition here, the word that. See, we have all the same words. The boy told his teacher, the boy told his teacher. Correct? These are the three changes we saw. I becomes he, am becomes was. Okay? Tired and tired, both are same. There is no change there also. But what is the change or what is the addition done to the sentence here? That, the word that has been added. Okay? So, when we are changing a speech from direct to indirect, these are the changes seen there. Okay, you have to notice these changes in the examples. Only then, when you have it for examination, you can easily change direct speech to indirect or vice versa. So, let us see what are the rules to be followed. If we know the rules properly, it will be very easy to change from direct to indirect or indirect to direct. So, here are the rules for changing direct speech to indirect speech. If the reporting verb is in the present or future tense, which tense? Present or future tense, simple present or simple future tense. There is no change in the tense of the verb in the indirect speech. So, there will be no change at all if it is in the simple present or simple future tense. What is simple present or future tense? Let us see the example here. They will say, we did not quarrel. Okay, they will say. Will indicates future tense, correct? So, this is simple future. They will say, we did not quarrel. We did not quarrel is the sentence used by the speaker here, correct? So, as it is the same sentence used here, it is in the double inverted comma. So, these are the words by the speaker. Okay, there is no indirect speech. This is direct speech. Then, in indirect speech, they will say that. That is added. They did not quarrel. Okay. What is the change? Only we becomes they. But is there any change in the verb? Did not quarrel. Did not quarrel. There is no change in did. Correct? Quarrel also. It is in the same tense. There is no change in the tense. When this happens? When it is in simple present or simple future tense. Okay. Remember, when it is simple present or simple future and you are changing direct speech to indirect speech, there will be no change in the verb. What we add is only that, which is added always from direct to indirect, and the first person becomes the third person. Okay. So, these are the only changes we do. What you have to notice is we don't make any changes in the verb. Okay. So, verb remains same if it is simple present or simple future tense. Next, let us see rules for changing direct speech to indirect speech when it is the past tense. Okay. If the reporting verb is in the past tense, we saw present tense and future tense, correct? What about past tense? If it is in the past tense, all present tenses of the direct speech are changed into the corresponding past tenses. So, whichever are in the present tense will change to the corresponding. See, corresponding means present continuous becomes past continuous, present perfect becomes past perfect, and present perfect continuous changes to past perfect continuous. Okay. So, let us see here, simple present becomes simple past. Okay. He said, I agree. He said, I agree. I agree. Agree is, this verb is in present tense, correct? So, here he said, the same words of the speaker is used here. So, this is in double inverted comma. There is a comma after he said. Okay. And then the dialogue of that person is put in double inverted commas. Okay. What it happens in indirect speech? He said, we'll remove the comma and add that. Okay. He said that, I becomes he. First person I becomes third person he. He agreed. See the verb here, D is added. Why D is added? Because we need to make it past tense, correct? Agreed is past tense. Okay. So, this is the change done here. Okay. Present becomes past, correspondent past. Okay. Next, we will see when it is present continuous. How to change a present continuous to past continuous in direct and indirect speech. They said, we are playing in the park. So we know if we find ing in a word, that is continuous tense, correct? So they said we are playing. This is present continuous. Are indicates present tense, correct? Plural present tense. So we are playing in the park. Again notice that after they said there is a comma and the speaker's dialogues are put in the double inverted commas. Okay. Then when it is changed to past continuous, they said that they were playing in the park. Okay. After they said, comma is removed and instead of comma we have that, correct? And then we are playing, we becomes they. Okay. We first person becomes they, the third person, and are, which is in present tense, becomes past tense. Okay. Present tense becomes past tense. Then playing is continuous, correct? Here present continuous changes to past continuous, correct? So continuous tense remains the same. Okay. In the park, remaining sentence, it remains the same. Okay. This is rule for present continuous to past continuous in direct indirect speech. Then present perfect and past perfect, when it is changed from present perfect to past perfect, I told you corresponding past tense, correct? If here it is present perfect, it has to be changed to past perfect itself. You can't change present perfect to past continuous or past perfect continuous also. Okay. So see the example here. He said, comma, in double inverted commas, I have made a mistake. Okay. So as you should know which are the verbs here, they are colored in red. Okay. So the sentence or the words which come in double inverted comma are the dialogues, the direct dialogues of the person, correct? The speaker's dialogues are put in double inverted commas here. So this is direct speech. Okay. Now let us see the tense. He said, okay, comma, I have made a mistake. I have indicates present perfect, correct? I have made a mistake. Made also indicates present tense, correct? So I have made a mistake. When it is changed to indirect speech, what it should happen? It should be past perfect. So here he said remains same. Instead of comma, we are adding that. Okay. I has to change to third person, correct? We'll remove the inverted commas and I changes to he, correct? So I changes to he, third person. Then the present perfect tense should be changed to past perfect, correct? So have becomes had. Have becomes had. Okay. See, has and have are present tense and had is past tense for both of these. Okay. So has and have are present tense. Has for singular, have for plural. Okay. When it is changed to past tense, both becomes had. Okay. Has or have both will be changed as had in the past tense. So is it done here? Yes, it is done. Have has become had. Made is present tense here. So that will remain same. So all the other words, they remain the same. They don't change. Okay. So what we have done here is, whichever is in present perfect, we have changed it to past perfect, and the other changes what we made are, we removed comma, added that, and we have removed the double inverted comma. Okay. So this is how we need to do when it is present perfect tense to past perfect tense. Okay. So identifying in which tense it is very important for you. If you know that, changing from direct to indirect will be very easy. So when you are doing, please do see in which tense it is. Okay. Next, present perfect continuous changes into past perfect continuous. Okay. Perfect continuous, present to past. Example, Simon said, I have been living here for a long time. Okay. So we'll know this is in direct speech because we have double inverted commas here, correct? Simon said, I have been living. I have been shows it is perfect and living is continuous. Okay. So, been living means from this period to this period. Okay. So, only we say present perfect continuous. That tense indicates the incident happening in a particular period of time. So, when it started till the end, what has happened, that will be reported here, correct? So, here I have been living. It shows that it is present perfect continuous. Ing indicates continuous, been indicates perfect, have indicates present. Okay. So, when it is changed to past perfect continuous, how it happens? What happens here? Simon said, comma is removed. Instead of comma, we are writing that. I becomes he. First person becomes third person, correct? Now, we should see what happens to have been living. Okay, what happens to present perfect continuous tense? It has to change to past perfect continuous. So, have becomes had. Okay, have becomes had. Been remains the same because it is perfect. Living remains same because it is continuous. So, here it is from present perfect continuous to past perfect continuous, correct? So, only the present and past, those words has to be changed. Okay. So, Simon said that he had been living there for a long time. The remaining words in the sentence, they remain the same. They don't change. Okay. Whatever we change in from direct to indirect speech is the tense. Okay. Next, we will see rules for changing direct and indirect speech when if it is the reporting verb is in the past tense, a past tense in the direct speech may be turned into past perfect. This is what we did from present tense to past tense, correct? If already the direct speech is in past tense, what we need to do? We need to change it to past perfect. Okay. So, how it is done? So, here past indefinite changes to past perfect. Past indefinite is nothing but simple past. Okay. That changes to past perfect. Example, Jack said, I decorated the Christmas tree. Okay. Here decorated is the simple past or what we call past indefinite, correct? So, this is in the past tense form, simple past tense form. Decorate is present, decorated is past tense, correct? So, what is the rule here? The past indefinite changes to past perfect. How do we need to do it? See, Jack said that he had decorated. Had indicates past perfect tense. Okay. The D form means the past tense of any verb must take had if it is past perfect. Okay. So, it is been done here. Here there is no have, but still we have added had because we need to make it the past perfect, correct? So, Jack said that he had decorated the Christmas tree. Okay. So, this is the rule when we are changing simple past to past perfect. So, you know what happens when it is in the present tense. So, we know the rule that if it is in the simple present, it changes to simple past. If it is in the present continuous, it changes to past continuous. If it is in the present perfect continuous, it changes to past perfect continuous, correct? And here we got to know that if it is in the past tense already, what we need to do? We need to change the past tense verb to perfect past tense. Okay. Now, let us see past continuous to past perfect continuous. Okay. So, if it is in the past continuous, what we need to do? We need to change it to past perfect continuous. Here, father said to me, I was planning for your birthday party. Okay. As it is in the double inverted comma and it is the direct dialogue of the person or the words of the speaker here. This is said to be direct speech. Let me read the sentence again. Father said to me, I was planning for your birthday party. So, in which tense it is? This is in past continuous, correct? How will we know that this is in past continuous? Was tells us that it is in past tense. planning, there is ing. So planning tells us that it is in continuous tense. So together it is past continuous tense. So when we are changing it to indirect speech, first thing what we do is, after the comma, instead of comma, what we do, we add that first person becomes third person. Then we need to check the tense. If it is in the past continuous, what is the rule? We need to change it to past perfect continuous, correct? So whenever you hear perfect tense, you have to add been. Okay, it can be the present, past or future. If it is perfect tense and continuous, you need to add been. Okay, so here was becomes had, and to make it perfect tense we are adding been, and the continuous tense remains the same. So he had been planning for my birthday party. Okay, so as we need to change it to past perfect continuous, we cannot write was itself, we need to write had been. Okay, so this is the change you need to do when it is the change of direct speech to indirect speech under the condition of the past continuous tense. Okay, next let us see what are the rules again. Past perfect and past perfect continuous remain unchanged. Okay, now if it is past tense, we change it to past perfect. If it was past continuous, we changed it to past perfect continuous. What if the sentence is in past perfect or past perfect continuous? Will not change anything, it remains the same. So what are the things that change? See the example. Jimmy said, I had eaten a lot. Okay, see, had eaten is past perfect continuous, correct? If we change it to indirect speech, Jimmy said, comma is removed, that has come, I becomes he. Okay, this is also perfect tense, correct? Past perfect, had eaten, so it remains the same, had eaten a lot. Okay, there is no change in the verb. Whatever we make change is that we add that and first person becomes third person. Remaining part along with the verb, it remains the same. Okay, then Nora said, I had been singing a song. Okay, I had been singing means this is past perfect continuous, right? So when it is in past perfect continuous, the rule says that we should not make any change there, right? So let us check. Nora said, comma is removed, that is added. Nora said that she had been singing a song. There is no change in the tense. The verb remains the same. Only change we make is we remove comma, we add that, first person becomes third person. That's all we change. Okay, verb remains the same when it is in the past perfect continuous or if it is in the past perfect. Okay, so this is what you need to do with the tenses when you are changing from direct to indirect speech. Next, let us see few more examples. If the reporting verb is in the future tense, if it is in the future tense, if it has shall or will. Shall or will tells us that the thing which is going to happen in the future, correct? In the direct speech is changed into should or would respectively according to the subject and the context. So what happens here? If it is shall in the future tense, it changes to should. If it is will, it changes to would. Okay, let us see example here. The doctor said, I shall examine the child. Okay, so if shall or will are there in the sentence, that is future tense, correct? So the example here, the doctor said, I shall examine the child. Shall is in future tense, correct? So what should it become? If it is shall, it should become should, correct? So the doctor said, comma is removed, that has come, I has changed to he, shall has changed to would examine. Okay, so it can be would or shall sometimes. Okay, both are acceptable. You can write either would or should based on the sentence. Okay, I should becomes compulsion, would becomes option. Okay, that is the difference. If it is should, it becomes compulsory. If it is would, it is optional. Okay, so examine the child. Okay, this is how it is changed in the future tense. So don't be confused with these two. Should is for compulsion, would is an option given. Okay, then the modal auxiliaries may and can are changed into might and could. Okay, so may past tense is might, can past tense is could. Okay, so these are called as modal auxiliaries, okay, or modals. The teacher said to him, you can write this. Okay, so what is the change we need to do? We need to observe can, correct? So the teacher said to him, comma is removed, instead of comma we have brought that. The teacher said to him that he could write that. Okay, so can becomes could. Okay, see, the double inverted comma is removed. Comma is removed before the direct speech or the dialogues of speaker, and that is added. You becomes he. Okay, it has to be in third person. You becomes he and can becomes could. Okay, remaining part remains the same. Okay, this is the rule to change in the future tense when it is modal auxiliaries. So here there are some words which are used in the direct and indirect speech. So when we change any sentence from direct speech to indirect speech, these are the changes needed to be done. Okay, so here if it is now in direct speech, as we change it to past tense, it has to be then. Okay, now past tense is then, correct? So if it is now, it becomes then in the past tense. This becomes that. Okay, if it is present, it is this. If the sentence is in past tense, the demonstrative word we use becomes that. Okay, these becomes those, here becomes there, today becomes that day. We usually keep today as it is, but we need to make this change. Today becomes that day. Okay, this table is very important. You need to remember these words to change from direct to indirect. So if you do not change these words, you may lose marks in the examination because it is not the perfect change from direct to indirect speech. So you need to remember this. What are the words used when it is in direct speech, and what are the words used when the same sentence is changed to indirect speech. Here are few more. Tonight becomes that night. Tomorrow becomes the next day. We will not say tomorrow itself in the indirect speech. We say the next day. Yesterday becomes the previous day. Last night becomes the previous night, and ago becomes before. Okay. These words are very important. You need to remember these words. Okay. Whenever now comes in direct speech, you need to change it to then when you are changing it to indirect speech. In the same way, this, these, here, today, tonight, tomorrow, yesterday, last night, ago, all these will change when you are changing sentence from direct speech to indirect speech. So next we'll see some statements here. Some are universal statements. They remain the same at any condition. Okay. So in the past, present or future, they remain the same. Those are called as universal statements. Let us see what are these universal statements. Universal facts like the sun rises in the east, sun sets in the west, correct? The river flows. All these are universal facts. They do not change at all. They remain the same. Then laws. Laws are made universally. So once the laws are made, they don't change, correct? And events. Okay. Some of the universal events, they happen everywhere in the same manner. And habitual actions, like I wake up at 6 in the morning. So habitual actions. If you are waking up 6 in the morning today and you have that habit, you have to wake up every day at 6, correct? So these are called as habitual actions. they are not subject to change. So, these kind of universal statements do not change at all. So, what all comes under universal statements? Universal facts, laws, events and habitual actions. They do not change at all when you are changing direct speech to indirect speech. They do not change when their speech is changed. They remain the same. Thus, the reporting in the indirect form remains the same as in the direct speech. So, what will be the change? There will be no change in the speech. Okay. This is what you have to remember when it is the universal statement. Next, we will see when it is interrogative sentence. What do we need to do when it is interrogative sentence? Firstly, we will see what changes interrogative sentences undergo when they are changed from direct to indirect speech. Let us see that. So, here I have some examples for you. A reporting verb said, see, said is changed into the following. Okay, it depending on the sentence, it changes. Said may become asked or inquired of or demanded, queried. Some such words are used instead of said. In the examples where you saw that said remained the same, correct, told remained the same. But here in reporting speech, when it is interrogative, when it is a question and you are changing it to indirect speech, said changes to asked, questioned, demanded, queried, etc. Then here is the example. Direct speech. Jack said to John, "How did you write your examination?" So, this is the interrogative sentence, right? So, Jack said to John. What did Jack said to John? How did you write your examination? This is the question, right? So, what did I tell you? Said changes to asked, inquired or queried, correct? See now in indirect speech, Jack asked John how he had written the examination. What is the major change? Said is changed to asked. Correct? And see, after John there is no comma. The inverted commas are also removed. And the question here, which started with the capital letter, has come to small. And how remains the same. How did you write your examination is changed to how he had written the examination. The present tense changes to past tense. Okay. And first person becomes third person. You becomes he. And here it is in present tense and here it is in past perfect in the indirect speech. Okay. The remaining remains the same and we remove the question mark in the indirect speech. So, question mark is not used when it is in the indirect speech. So, what do we notice here? That said has changed to asked. Okay. It can be asked, questioned, queried. Okay. All these can be used here. Next, let us see the other rules what we need to do when it is an auxiliary verb. If it is auxiliary verb, there are some conditions. Let me tell you all those. If the question begins with a verb or an auxiliary verb like can you do this to me, may I come in, all these are the questions, but what are used here? Instead of WH questions, here it is the auxiliary verbs used, correct? So, the joining word must be if or whether instead of that. So, we saw that was common in all the previous examples. But if it is that in the interrogative sentences which start with the auxiliary verbs, then what is the change we need to? We need to change it to if or whether. Okay. See the example. He said to me, "Will you listen to such a man?" Okay. So, here will, okay, is a auxiliary. It is auxiliary verb which has formed the question here. Will you listen to such a man? Correct. So, here said has to change. Okay. He inquired. Instead of said, what is the word here used? It is inquired and that will not use. We removed a comma and added that there, correct? So, this condition says that instead of that we need to use if or whether. So, instead of that after removing comma, if or whether is added. if I would listen to such a man. Here see, be careful, you, second person has changed to first person I. Okay, this is the question asked here. So, the second person has changed to first person, you has changed to I. Instead of that, we are using if or whether. Let me read the sentence in indirect speech. He inquired of me if I would listen to such a man, or he inquired of me whether I would listen to such a man. Okay. Next, one more example. They said to him, do you want someone to help you? Okay. So, what are the conditions we need to do? They said becomes they asked. Okay. They said becomes they asked, and instead of comma here means instead of that we are using if or whether. Okay. And you, which is in second person, it becomes third person here. Okay. This changing of third person, it depends on the sentence. Do you want someone to help you? Here, if or whether he wanted someone to help him. So, what is the other change we need to observe? The present tense has become the past tense. Simple present has become past tense. Okay. So, these are the rules you need to remember when you are changing the interrogative sentences which are in auxiliary verb, means which start with auxiliary verbs. Next, we will see the exclamatory sentences. So, if the reporting speech is in exclamatory, what is that we need to do? So, the reporting verb said to is changed into. So, it can be changed into exclaimed, prayed, cried, blessed, wished, or some other similar verbs. Okay. So, said to changes to any of these. Okay. He said, wow, the sea looks amazing. Okay. He said, wow, the sea looks amazing. So, this is exclamatory sentence, correct? So, what change do we need to do here? He exclaimed. Instead of said, we need to show the exclamation, right? So, we are using he exclaimed. Okay. He exclaimed with joy. So, these are the words again added. Okay. How did he exclaim? With joy. He exclaimed with joy that the sea looked amazing. So, that word is used again here, and looks becomes looked. Okay. He said, wow, the sea looks amazing is direct speech. He exclaimed with joy that the sea looked amazing is indirect speech. Okay. So, I have marked all the changes done to the sentence when we are changing exclamatory sentence from direct to indirect speech. Next, observe how wow has been changed into exclaimed with joy, correct? She said, Lord, please help me. Okay. She said, Lord, please help me means she is praying, correct? So, what is the change done here? She prayed. Instead of said, I have used prayed, correct? She prayed to the Lord. As sentence has to be perfect, we can't write she prayed Lord. We have added the words here. She prayed to the God for help. Okay. Please help me has changed to for help. Okay. Or it also can be she prayed to the Lord to help her. Me becomes her. Okay. So, this is the change when we do to the exclamatory sentences. So, here are some the interjections, what we call the sudden expressions what we give when it is an exclamatory sentence. So, the change in the adverb or adverb phrase is done when it is exclamation. See, hurrah, aha or wow becomes exclaimed with joy. Let me go to the previous slide. What happened here? Wow has changed to exclaimed with joy, correct? So, this is how the adverbs are changed to adverb phrases. Okay. Hurrah or aha or wow is changed to exclaimed with joy, correct? Both mean the same. Then, oh, what, how, these words, these adverbs, they change to exclaimed with surprise. Okay, these words are used when we are surprised, correct? Then bravo changes to applaud or appreciated. Okay, so bravo is exclaimed or used when we have appreciation, correct? So bravo becomes applauded or appreciated. Alas, they show the sorrow, grievance, correct? So when it is changed from direct to indirect, these words become exclaimed with sorrow or grief. Okay, he exclaimed with sorrow when he heard the bad news. Okay, so this is how we make the change. Then sorry, sorry becomes exclaimed with regret. Okay, then hush or hush, expressed attention. Okay, hush or hush is changed to expressed attention. He said hush becomes he expressed attention. Okay, this is used here. This is the table to know how an adverb changes to adverb phrase when you are changing direct speech to indirect speech when it is an exclamation. Okay. Now, as we have learnt all the rules, let us make the changes. So, let us solve some exercise here. Change the given direct speech into indirect speech. Please don't add sugar, the lady said to the waiter. Okay, what did the lady say? Please don't add sugar. Okay, sometimes in sentences the direct speech or the dialogue of the person speaker comes in the beginning of the sentence. So in this sentence the dialogue is put up first, correct? Please don't add sugar. So where is the comma? Comma is after sugar, correct? What we need to do? See, the lady requested, as it is please. Okay, so we need to change it to requested. So in some places said, if it is a question, it becomes asked, inquired, all those, correct? In exclamatory sentences also we saw adverb becomes adverbal phrases, correct? Here please is changed to requested. Okay, requested the waiter not to add any sugar. Okay, next, have you been shopping? He asked me. This is the question with auxiliary verb, okay, or the modal. Then he wanted to know if I had been shopping. Okay, here it is the question, right? So he wanted to know, it is a question. So if you becomes I and it has to be in past perfect continuous, had been shopping. Okay, next, why haven't you phoned me? He asked me. Okay, this is the question again. He wondered why I hadn't phoned him. Okay, so phoned present tense, he becomes I, and as it is a surprise, here the word wondered is used. Okay, these were few examples to know how to change direct to indirect speech. We saw that what happens if it is in present tense, what happens if it is in past tense and future tense. We also saw how an interrogative sentence is changed to indirect speech. When exclamation is there, what do we need to do, and how the adverbs change in the exclamatory sentences. So all these rules we learned today, and what you have to do is you have to remember all this correctly and use them when the question is asked in the examination. Hope you understood what is direct indirect speech and what are the rules to be followed to change from direct to indirect. Guess that you will do your best in the examination and you will not forget the rules. Bidding you bye, thank you.